Hello everyone, this is my reference interview analysis. The reference question I chose to use was, could you help me find sources on the language development of bilingual children? I chose this question because I, one, know that there is definitely a lot of research about this, so it shouldn't be too hard to find. And also I knew it was something that is more likely to be found in an academic journal, in periodicals, versus books. But I was curious to see if there was books on this. For my face-to-face interview, I chose to go to the Oaklawn Library, which was my hometown library growing up, still is, except I never use it for reference questions. I pretty much just go, check out my books, and leave. So I wasn't actually familiar with the reference staff at all, so this was a new experience for me. Now, my face-to-face experience was both very helpful and very unhelpful. Let me explain what that means. So I went up to the librarian and I asked her the question, could you help me find sources on the language development of bilingual children? And she immediately goes on a computer and starts typing in English language or ELL language development and then goes, I assume you want periodicals, correct? And I said, periodicals, journals, whatever, whatever you have. I just want to see what sources you have. So she types in ELL language development. Now that was the first sign that she should have asked me questions because I did not say ELL, which means English language learners. I said bilingual, and there is a difference. Bilingual is children who are raised with both languages, such as Spanish and English, kind of simultaneously, while an English language learner is somebody who speaks a different language and then learns English later on, maybe in kindergarten, first grade, as school-age children. So there is a difference, and that was not what I was looking for, but she never asked me that. So she types it in and types in a specific publisher and explains to me how this publisher has really great books about language development and teaching. She says, we don't have any here at the Oaklawn Library. And I said, that's fine. What else do you have? Again, she still has ELL language development. She finds one book that looks good according to her, did not ask me if I thought it looked good, and it said Teaching ELL Students. Now, I wasn't looking for teaching, I was looking for journals about the language development in bilingual children. But she assumes that that was the best option, and she sees that it is an ebook on a database, or not a database, on a site called Hoopla. Now she explains to me, all right, you can get this book, you need to set up a Hoopla account. And she goes through the whole process of getting a Hoopla account with me. She goes to the Hoopla website, tells me how to make an account, how to put my library card in. And that was helpful because in the future, if I ever need an ebook that the library has, I know how to make a Hoopla account. She explained to me about the 4-book limit and how many weeks I get. So that was really helpful. She did not have to go that far, but she explained to me the whole process of doing that. So she showed me Hoopla, and then she said, let's find some physical books. So in her mind, she thought it was best to look up language development books and then English language learner books. And she said, I assume that the English language learner books will have a little bit of the language development in the early chapters, which was an interesting assumption, but again, never what I was looking for. But I didn't want to feed her the answers. So she takes me over to the language development books, just plain language development in children, hands me a language development book, and then shows me where the English language learner books are. Now, all these books are for teachers, pretty much. They all say teaching English language learners, teaching vocabulary to English language learners. And it wasn't until that point that she actually asked me a reference interview question. She asked, oh, is this for teaching? And I said, no, this is not for teaching. This is for a research on bilingual language development, which was my hint that this was not what I was looking for. So she goes, well, these books probably have a little bit in the beginning. So she hands me the books. Then she takes me over to the computers. Now, this was the part that I felt was very helpful for her. And she really did not have to go through all this with me. A lot of librarians will just lead you to the books and then maybe say, okay, here's the options you can browse. Well, she takes me to the computer and say, I'll show you how to get articles. So she showed me the different databases that Oaklawn has to offer, which I did not know despite using Oaklawn Library. She showed me the databases, how to access EBSCO or ERIC, how to go through all their academic journals, and she explained to me as if I knew nothing about academic journals, which was probably appropriate because she's assuming like I'm just a new patron. So she went through it with me. She showed me how to print. She showed me how to find the citations and change it from APA to MLA or whichever one I prefer. She showed me how to email myself the articles if I didn't want to pay to print them, and that was really helpful because sometimes you don't want to pay, and I didn't know there was an email option. She also gave me some hints. Instead of typing in things like language development, she said we could look under the subjects and do language acquisition and change the words to find different results, and that was a good tip. So it was very helpful that I learned the databases that Oaklawn has, and she went through all that stuff with me and really spent the time to go through it with me. However, she never helped me find the actual question I asked, and she never stopped to ask what I meant by that. She just assumed it was teaching ESL students. Now, what was helpful about this interaction? It was helpful that I learned the databases, especially since the Oaklawn website is recently been changed and it's very hard to find their databases. And she admitted that it was difficult. So she showed me how to get to that. It was unhelpful because she did not ask me almost any questions about what I needed or what I was looking for. She kind of assumed and then she ran with it. She like was talking, never really paused for me to correct her, although I was trying to let her lead me there. I did not want to feed her the answers because that's not the point of this assignment. Was this a successful reference interview? I would say no, because I never got the answers that I needed. Um, it was successful in the sense that I learned about their databases and I could independently look those things up, but I did not actually get the answers that I needed from that librarian. And would I use this again? Despite the fact that I didn't get exactly what I needed, I probably would go back and use them, um, except I would definitely have to explain more and correct her more about what I was looking for since she did not ask me those questions herself. For my alternative communication, I decided to do the Naperville Public Library text messaging system. I chose this because it was actually kind of hard for me to find a chat system in a public library. I didn't want to use the colleges because I wanted to do public library. Finally, I found that the Naperville Public Libraries have a text messaging system. Now, they did preface that it takes about 30 minutes to get a response. So when I texted them, hello, could you show me sources on bilingual children language development, I expect there to be a half an hour wait because they did warn me. Now, for my actual experience, they texted me back within a minute, and you could tell it was an actual person. It wasn't just a standardized message because she kind of put what I wanted in the response. And she didn't answer any questions in the sense of about the development, which granted would be a lot, but she told me step by step how to access their databases and which database would be best through the text message. So she said, go to the website, click on this link, go to the academic one, which was their database, type in language development in bilingual children, and that yields a lot of results. So granted, she didn't ask me any reference questions, but it was very much leading me to the water to do it myself, which I appreciated since she knows that I'm doing this at home. And then she did give me a phone number, said, if you want more assistance, please call us. I asked a follow-up question just to see if they were still as quick or if they would answer. I said, what if I want to print these at home? Can I do that? And she said, yes, you can. As soon as you put your library card in, you have all the access you would as if you were actually in the library. Now, what was helpful about this? They were quick. They told me exactly step by step, and it was very easy to follow how to find their databases and which database to use. What was unhelpful, probably that they didn't ask any reference questions, but she was more just showing me the sources. Was this successful? For what I needed, I would say yeah, because I asked her for how to find sources, and she showed me how to find sources. And for the convenience of using phone, it was pretty quick. And then would I use this again? Personally, no, because I don't have a Naperville library card, but if somebody lived in Naperville, I would tell them that it was a pretty useful service. Now, which do I prefer? I mean, granted, even though my face-to-face interaction today wasn't the greatest, I do prefer face-to-face in general. You can get into deeper discussions, kind of have more of a back and forth conversation. Had this been a real research project I was doing for bilingual children, I would definitely have asked her more different questions and had her look for different things. And it's great to be in the library because you could kind of just assess the situation better with your librarian, and you can also leave the library with digital and physical materials. While texting, was good in the sense that it was quick, it was convenient, and the fact that it was on my phone was pretty helpful because had I said only had the chat option and I wasn't home with the laptop, I probably would not have been able to contact them. But because I had a phone, I could walk around and I could get that message no matter where I was, and then I can have it saved on my phone. The con to that is that you get less specific answers and just more kind of independent. This is how you would do it, so you could do it at on your own. Overall, I thought this experience was really helpful, especially since I learned a lot about the Oaklawn Library databases and how to utilize them. And I definitely learned something new about their library. I did learn that sometimes it is up to the patron to ask more questions if the reference assistants did not ask those questions. I hope in the future, when I work in a library, I make sure to ask more questions and really make sure I know what they're asking for versus assuming, because as I learned today, assuming could get you the wrong answer. And that is the end of my presentation. Thank you for listening, and I hope you guys learned as much as I did.